Nyaho! Nyaho! Why am I so small? Nyaho! Hi everybody! Hi. Nyaho Heka! You get the first guess. Heka. Where are you? Hello. Nyaho Heka. Nyaho Atimo. Nyaho Sadabi. Nyaho Beepster. Hi. Nyaho Silas. PERTURABO. Oh my boobas. Nyaho Jaeger, like 7 hours ago. Nyaho Leon, thank you for the super. I know you're doing PERTURABO, but I highly recommend the Amber King Conrad Curse. Yes, Conrad, he's climbing the poles. Did nobody mention that Pancreas did PERTURABO video fairly recently? Hello, Spider the 4th Legion. Hello, Grand Taurus. What are the videos we're watching today? We're watching the Amber King and we're watching the Gaming Storyteller. I did see that Pancreas Noah Work did a PERTURABO video, but we watched Pancreas for Gilliman. So I was switching it up, and everybody always begs for the Amber King. And look, we have an Amber King video under 2 hours. Under an hour and 10 even. Sheesh. Nyaho. I can do that. Yeah, thank you, the Grand Taurus. I did see it, don't worry. It was in my purview. But yeah. Hi. Good night, Heka. Good night. Okay. Whoa, hey. Hello? Good night. Okay, kind of good. Anyways. Hi. We are here. I'm trying out this new time. Also, if it sounds a little bit echoey, I've been like, okay, you know I'm moving. So I've been packing up a lot of stuff. And the room in which I stream, a lot of my plushies are gone, which I think absorbs all the sound. So if it sounds a little bit quagey, sorry. Secondly, we've been doing a lot of Primarchs, and I think we want some more variety. So I know Kurz has been recommended. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we do another Primarch next week or we do something else. He moonlights as an ultramarine simp when he's not simping for the Eldar. Hurt. So yeah. So we're here today with PERTURABO. And we'll see. We got a super about Kurz. We got someone else talking about Kurz right now. So I don't know, maybe he's going up, maybe he's going... Lehman, it'll never be you, buddy. You're just never winning. Sorry, if I put Lehman versus Kurz, we know who's winning. I have been interested in Conrad Kurz, though, because I looked at the Beakies. Love a Beaky. So yeah. But today it's all about our boy Peter. You should cover Gamora of the Homo Chikara. Who's that? A woman. I like women. Oh, that's what I was saying. Sorry, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about the echo because the echo was really loud to me. I'm trying out this stream time to see if this is a little better for my non-American viewers and my American viewers, because I think I did like 2 hours earlier and that was a little bit too late for people to stay up, but it might be early enough to wake up for. I don't know. Let me know what you think about starting at this time. I'll also try and start even earlier. Usually I spend my Wednesdays like working on schoolwork and stuff, which is why I save the stream for later. I didn't work on stream stuff because I kind of slept like for a million years today. But I can wake up and I can not do school stuff, and we can see how that works. Can you notice the echo, or is it just me? Because I can notice it. And people said they can notice it on Discord, so I don't know. Sorry if there's an echo, that's why. Oh, it's a home. It's not a woman, it's a home. Women are home, you know? Okay. Okay, Perturabo, you guys said this was your favorite. Every time I ask who your favorite Primax are, I get the same answers. Sanguinius, Perturabo, Gilliman, Vulcan. He's always in the tops, so we're gonna learn about him. Tell me about him, Amber King! Go! Also, I got a comment on my last reaction saying that it looks like I didn't like it, and I'm very curious why that person said that. What about the hello? I have no idea. What does my interest look like? Anyways, if you want, what did he call me? If you want a smart and thoughtful reaction, I guess I don't have those. I just react. Hold on. I have a lot of quotes and passages from the book Hammer of Olympia. Oh, what's that book about? Okay. This is the Amber King. 4 years ago, Perturabo. Voice acted. Featuring a Vox in the Void playing Perturabo. Yeah. 4 years. But you know what? He's the Amber King. So we're going. Let's go!
Forgotten. Betrayer. Lapdog of a tyrant. No. I am the Breaker. The Hammer of Olympia. I am the Lord of Iron.
Good night, Galio.
Iron within. Iron without.
Iron within, iron without. Oh! Quotes and passages from Olympia.
The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Rebellion, destruction and betrayal is what comes to mind with the Lord of Iron, the Breaker, and the Hammer of Olympia, Primarch of the 4th Legiones Astartes, Perturabo. But we are more than just the facades we put out to the world. Who is the Lord of Iron? And why did he betray the Emperor? Why did Perturabo choose damnation? To understand who he is now, we have to start at the beginning. Like all good stories, it begins in fire, stolen from the Emperor's side by the foul entities of the Warp. The Primarch hurtled through the Immaterium. His gestation capsule hurtled through the galaxy like a blazing comet, and fell upon the mountainous world known as Olympia. Bursting through his capsule, the young Primarch slogged through the amniotic fluid and oil, and for the first time using his own legs to stand. You would expect confusion and fear to fall upon anyone in this situation, but cold, calculating calm were at the core of this child. He had—
Wait! Their gestation pods, they were children? I thought they were babies. He could stand? All this time I thought they were babies. Oh my goobus. Okay, they're children. They're like what, 5? They're standing. 4? I don't know. When did children stand? I don't know. What do I know? Okay. He's standing. Right out of the gestational pod, through the amniotic fluids, he's standing. Crazy visual.
He had awoken to a snow-topped mountain, thin
In the
air,
snow?
and a crass
Ew.
capsule with the letter 4 inscribed upon it. Almost all the Primarchs landed on a world in panic, remembering nothing of their origins, their home, or even their name. But this boy was different. It was like the words were blazed across his soul. The boy knew he had a name, Perturabo. Though uniquely amongst his brothers, he possessed some fragments of memory and purpose.
Wait, so Perturabo was a name given to him by the Emperor, and everybody else's name was not given to them by the Emperor? Getting yeeted through the warp because of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff for the Primarchs. Wait. So the other Primarchs' names, are they from the Emperor? Were they renamed? I don't in Gilliman's? No. Most were given by the... Okay, so that means they had original names. That means the Emperor named them all. Do we learn those names? I'm trying to think. What did I watch? I watched Sanguinius, Gilliman, and Vulcan, and I don't remember hearing original names. So, yeah, because Gilliman got his name from Connor, right? And Sanguinius got his name from his dad. I don't know. Yeah. So what's Gilliman's Emperor given name? Do we know this? Do we have a list of names given by the Emperor? If Perturabo has one, shouldn't they all have one? Or at least the 3 before him? The lion? Ooh, okay. Well, you guys tell me. Because I don't know. Continue.
Perturabo, like all his brothers, would come to be shaped by the planet of his early life. The culture, the people, and the geography over the coming years would seep into the young Primarch. Olympia is a world of unbroken mountainous terrain. Crags, plateaus, temperate foliage, and terrifying monstrous beasts that resemble the creatures from Greek mythology. Humanity found this world early in the dark age of technology, leading to a mass colonization and industrial mining on a scale unimaginable to modern man. The planet grew to a place of rich mineral resources, leading to the construction of a world steeped in rich stonework, art and technology. Perhaps a true paradise in its golden age. But like all things in the grim dark universe, the best days are behind us. The age of strife began, and the colonies of man became cut off from warp travel and each other. As planets starved, Olympia managed to hold on due to its technology and temperate climate, producing mass resources. But decline was inevitable. On a world with a very terrain isolated cities and colonies, divisions fostered. For thousands of years, each city, each fortress and town began to evolve their own cultures and traditions. And where there is difference amongst people, conflict is inevitable.
The Primarchs probably did have names, but they got forgotten. But wouldn't Malkador and the Emperor not have forgotten? So when they found a new one, wouldn't they be like, if they found Gilliman, shouldn't they have been like, oh, Regbald, it is you. And then he'll be like, no, my name is Robute Gilliman now, you know? I don't think he would name them Perturabo and Regbald. I don't know. But yeah. Don't know? Okay. I don't know. Whatever.
Independent city-states over thousands of years regressed. The understanding of technology was poorer. The mountainous and mined-out world had less and less resources. They had created their own unique pantheon of gods, each city's belief as strong as their rivals. The world of Olympia had crumbled into a web of subterfuge, manipulation, rivalries and war. The people became opportunistic, pursuing wealth, security and dominance above all else. At the technological level of pre-atomic bomb, the planet in the time of the 30th millennium is in a constant state of Cold War. Each territory a slog of siege warfare amongst the difficult mountainous terrain. A society that rewards greed, selfishness and competitiveness is ruled by those who excel at that. As such, Olympia is ruled by petty warring tyrants, ruthless men and women woven amongst layers of complex political intrigue, people who only saw others as tools for their ambitions. Perturabo was alone. We have all felt alone in our world before, but to a level where you can't fully remember where you came from, where you have truly never even met another person before. It is possible that Perturabo felt this way, though in reality it was overrun by his instinct to survive, to adapt and learn. The young Primarch began roaming the remote mountains of Olympia. All alone he survived, thanks to his inbuilt Primarch intellect and genetics. It was during this period of primal survival that Perturabo saw them for the first time, humans. In the search for food, Perturabo had found the flocks of local shepherds high up on the mountains. Devouring their stock, the angry farmers did their best to chase him. They were weak, and they stood no chance, but yet they still tried to chase him. Actions that possessed no logic to him. As the farmers began chasing him one day from their flock, they were attacked by a massive serpentine creature. The monster attacked and began devouring an adolescent boy. Coldly the Primarch observed them, their foolishness, and they beat the monster in an attempt to release the boy. But the boy was lost, and surely they would die if they stayed any longer. The sight was curious. As the Primarch turned, he left and felt a tug at his heart. Something in his core told him not to leave, but to help them. Why?
He's seeing a big snake eat this little kid, and he's like, well, GG, that kid's dead. But then the other adults are like trying to kill the snake and get the kid, and he's like, bro, I don't know what you're doing all that for. It's GG, the kid's gone. And he's like, why? Why would you even do that? You're gonna lose against a snake, bro. He's contemplating, he's learning, he's feeling compassion.
What made him feel this way? He knew he stood no chance against the beast, and it would only put him at risk. But for a moment he felt an innate desire to protect the farmers. Like an ember, this feeling grew from a slow burn into a fire, and Perturabo resolved himself to kill the beast. But by hand, the boy's chances were pitifully low. So the Primarch trekked down from the mountains to the village of the farmers. The farmers were frightened of him, this man-sized child who had slayed their flock and used it to create ragged clothing. Perturabo, as a Primarch, began to show his otherworldliness, piecing together the sounds of what he heard from the farmers, who had chased him many times upon the mountains. He spoke. He found the local blacksmith, and his first words in the galaxy were to give him iron, coal, and tools. Fearful of this strange being, the man complied, and so began Perturabo. Knowledge flowed from him as he forged, quenched, and tempered the metal before him. The farmer's curiosity overcame their fear, as seeing the strange boy perfectly work the tooling and techniques of smithing, something that might have brought excitement and wonder to anyone, but coldness was across his face, like someone who had done this not for the first time, and it was simply a mundane task. A blade was forged, and the boy set out back to the mountains, only to return hours later covered in blood, with the head of the beast. The farmer who had lost his boy to the beast approached, and asked what reward he required. Reward? The boy had not done this for reward. He did it because he wanted to help. It was his purpose. Somewhere inside Perturabo, he knew he was meant to build and protect. He had the instincts and heart of a good person, innocent like a child. But much like in our own world, innocence is often taken advantage of. The farmer gave him an expression that later he would come to dread. The smile of someone not looking at a savior or friend, but a tool.
Oh no. Hello Matthew, hello Barnaby. We're learning about Perturabo.
be a Primarch means to possess gifts and intellects above and beyond mortal humans. The rate in which Perturabo was learning and studying in his environment is astonishing. He was stronger, faster, and likely smarter than anyone on the entire world. But when it came to social experiences, he was still a boy. Rumours of a large and powerful man slaying the serpentine beast single-handedly spread like wildfire. Perhaps on another world or in another time, he would have been seen as a saviour, like many of his brothers. But on Olympia, power was to be tamed and abused. Damikos, the ruling tyrant of the city of Lokos, heard the rumours of this strange boy and set out his city guard to fetch this mysterious figure. On seeing the strange boy in the flesh, Damikos put him to the test, witnessing his ability to defeat warriors twice his size and many times his age in combat, and also the boy's ability to solve any puzzle put to him by the tyrant's own scholars. Damikos was intrigued, enough to offer the boy a place at his court. Life could have been very different for the young Primarch if he had chosen another path, for Damikos, like the farmers, saw only what this Primarch could do for him, something he would see in the coming years. Perturabo was put to work, his inbuilt genius flowing forth improved weaponry and tactics. Like if the very plans were inscripted on his DNA. Perturabo never discovered anything new with excitement. It was as if he was just reciting it from memory. Perturabo over the coming years took command of Lokos' forces and began a brutal campaign of siege warfare over the planet, pumping out remarkable designs of siege engines and battle strategies. City by city fell over the decades, and fell under the banner of Damikos of Lokos. The Primarch's victories were incredible, but something was wrong. He had no one to share it with. The Primarch learned quickly, enough to see the pit of vipers that surrounded him in Lokos. Intrigue, jealousy, arrogance, and selfishness pervaded Olympian high society. Perturabo began to see how they saw him. The freak, the fool, the one to be used for their own ends. No one on Olympia loved him. Not Damikos, not one of his stepbrothers and sisters. They loved what he could do for them. His inbuilt genius was a curse. He felt no joy. He was only reciting from memory. He had never created anything from his own heart. The effects of this life was leading to scars on the inside. He was the great Perturabo, the boy descended from the heavens, veteran warrior of countless campaigns, the perfect man. There was no place for weakness. One day during the latter decade on his time in Olympia, Perturabo challenged his foster brother Andros to a sculptural competition. The distance he had put himself emotionally meant that Perturabo saw himself as superior to everyone, and everyone in his life had reinforced that. For weeks Andros, a mere mortal man, toyed with his work, whilst Perturabo lorded over the perfect piece he had created in a single day. The day of judgment arrived, and Perturabo showed his piece to the court, this immaculate sculpture that brought the court to tears. Its artistry was amazing, incredible even. Though he would never admit it, Perturabo bathed in the praise that he had become used to, until Andros revealed his piece. It was perfection personified, the creativity, how the light played on it. It truly captures your soul. Perturabo lost. He was the Primarch. He was the genius. He was beyond human, and he lost to a mere man. Perturabo destroyed the two works, smashing Andros's piece to dust. He hated it, because he hated how it made him feel. Because for all the genius he possessed, he was missing one thing: humanity. He had never truly connected with anyone. He never felt the joy of discovery or the humility of defeat. He raged like a child because he had never experienced the maturity that love brings. It was time. Decades of being a frontline strategist under his adoptive father, the time had come. A part of him knew he was created. His genius was no accident. And finally, his creator, his true father, had come. Seeing from miles away, Perturabo rushed to the highest mountain of Olympia. Perhaps for the first time in his life he had felt excitement. At the peak, he saw him, the perfect being, a face of brilliance and sincerity, and he wept.
My son,
he said. His lips remained in that sincere expression of pleasure, the like of which Perturabo had never seen on the calculating faces of the Olympians. No words passed his lips, but still he spoke.
I have found you.
Perturabo swayed. The pressure of his father's mind was immense. The much-feared star maelstrom was nothing compared to this power. Perturabo's deepest thoughts were dragged out into the light of his soul, and read as easily as words on paper. He looked down on the man, then fell to his knees with all humility, a quality which until this moment he had not known in himself.
Father.
Kneeling, Perturabo was still taller than the man, but he was left in no doubt that the strange visitor surpassed him in every way.
I am the Emperor of Terra, and of all mankind,
said the man, now speaking aloud. His voice was calm, and full of the promise of great things.
You are Perturabo. I am,
said Perturabo.
You know me.
The Emperor laid a hand on his shoulder. Warriors in tall helms and golden armor were arrayed behind the Emperor. They watched him closely.
You are as dauntless as I intended you to be.
The Emperor looked out over the world, as if he could see the smallest detail from their lofty vantage.
You have achieved much.
His smile broadened with delight.
I see a world of peace, filled with mighty castles and marvelous devices. We have much to talk of, and I can teach you a great deal. I sense the hunger in you for knowledge. I think you and I have many nights of discussion ahead of us. Yes,
said Perturabo.
Please.
He was struck near dumb by wonder.
Will you offer me your allegiance? Will you join with me and pledge yourself to humanity's service?
The warriors in gold tensed, their weapons pointed at Perturabo. Ordinarily, this insult would have sent him into a towering rage, but Perturabo's arrogance, until then immutable as iron, melted and was swept away, and he answered meekly,
I want nothing more.
Oh.
I swear that I shall serve you faithfully for all time. This I pledge.
The Emperor looked at him with the expression of infinite wisdom. Deep in his eyes, sorrow lurked. Perturabo wished more than anything to banish that sadness if he could.
Then rise, my son.
The sadness was hidden away again, so that Perturabo doubted he had even seen it, and was ashamed he could impute such an emotion to so perfect a being.
Your road will be hard, but few are worthy of it,
said the Emperor.
I have many tasks for you. The indefatigable, the indomitable, the unrelenting. You shall be my Lord of Iron.
Perturabo cried out in unabashed joy. Finally, he felt acceptance without caveat. Love radiated from the Emperor for his found son. Perturabo basked in it. For the first time, he felt a sense of true belonging.
And may it forever be so.
Wow, he was finally accepted and loved. How could it go wrong from here? We're not even halfway through, and it goes wrong from here. Oh my goodness. I knew night. Do I start calling you my Warhammer Kohai? Yes, you can. Peter Turbo's top 3 best marks, probably tied with number 1. Whoa, we love Perturabo. He just needed a hug, bro. And okay, I can kind of, you guys already probably know how this goes, but I can kind of see how it goes wrong, right? Because if he puts all his eggs in the Emperor's basket and he thinks he's such a perfect being and he sees anything to the contrary of that, like that'll shake all of his faith, right? If he goes in 100%, like he'll feel betrayal. Even if just for a minute he could feel betrayal, and that could like wreck his world. So like that's what I'm thinking happens. He went all in too fast, you know. And hey, that's okay. Sometimes people do that. And you know, little Perturabo just wanted a hug and just wanted to be loved. And finally, Daddy came home and was like, "Sonny boy, I love you." So obviously, he would be like, "I love you too. No one's ever loved me before." That's his first love, okay? Listen. The Emperor is his first love, and you know how people can be with their first loves, okay? We can forgive him. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see what he does next. The Great Crusade.
His true father had come for him. Perturabo had spent decades on a world where he was used as a tool in the army of a tyrant, and now his father had come to save him from this existence. All his life he had been surrounded by vipers, the selfish nobility of Olympia, who would laud praise upon his works and accomplishments. But no one...
I also, is the phrase being surrounded by vipers, like, true to the books and the novels? Because I like the imagery that it has there, right? Because he says he's describing Perturabo feeling like he's living surrounded by vipers, and like the first big enemy thingy he did to prove his worth was cut the head off a snake just to get acceptance and compassion. Well, I guess he didn't do it. He did that because he was compassionate, but it earned him acceptance and compassion and regard from other people. So the imagery of he lived surrounded by vipers and he should have been cutting the heads off of them, but instead he was wanting their acceptance. It was the vipers he wanted acceptance from. Kind of big. Perturabo, what is my purpose? Emperor, you only siege? OMG. Oh, my emperor. What? Daddy? Probably Perturabo. Yep.
Ever praised the man, Perturabo, for no one really cared enough to know who he was and what he cared about, what he dreamed of. His time in Olympia was also confounded.
What did he dream of? I want to know. Tell me, Perturabo, what do you dream of? Guys, tell me what you dream of in the chat. I want to know what you dream of.
By fear. Long ago, during this time amongst the mountains, the young Primarch had peered towards the heavens and gazed upon a strange nebulous stellar maelstrom erupting across the galaxy. Unnervingly, he found that no one else could see it. The Primarch felt at all times as if he was being watched, like something malevolent stared at him constantly, watching, waiting, judging. A constant source of background paranoia that clung to him through his daily life. The expectations of genius and perfection were suffocating in Olympian high society, and he feared sharing this as it could be seen as weakness, a dangerous thing to share amongst Olympians. In fact, his entire life had reinforced this disdain, seeing the farmers too weak to defend themselves against a serpentine monster, the weakness inside the fortresses he conquered, the weakness inside him when Andros, a mere man, beat him in competition. There was no place for weakness. By reuniting with his father, he learned of the Great Crusade, a dream to unite humanity across the stars. His father told him his journey would be tough, and he expected great things from Perturabo. Perhaps for the first time in his life, he had someone who he truly didn't want to disappoint. The Emperor gave him tutelage and connection, and after a brief amount of time, he was given his sons, his legion, the Iron Warriors. Perturabo was no longer just a demigod amongst mortals. Now he had brothers, equals, or in some ways, rivals. He would become the strongest warrior. He would create the greatest technology and have the greatest legion in the galaxy, because it was what the Emperor demanded. His father would see. Having instituted a full review of the 4th Legion's war record, doctrines and practices, and having compared them with the other legions, Perturabo found his sons fell far from this ideal of strength. They were meant to be the greatest force under the Emperor, worthy of praise, but they were failing. They were his failure.
No!
The sons created from his own genetics were weak, and that made him look weak.
No!
His punishment was decimation. For all the Legion's failings, they would suffer. The orders were given. War is unequivocal, uncaring, unforgiving, and blind. Blind also will be the selection of those who will pay the blood price for the great failure of your record. 1 in every 10 of the Legion, chosen at random by lottery, was beaten to death by his own comrades with their bare hands. Warriors that had fought together, shared life together, brothers.
What? How did we go to all I want is to find love to you guys disappoint me, I'm gonna beat the heck out of you? Hello? Oh, we should have got him a therapist before we gave him the children. Oh no. Peter. Oh man. Okay, well, it sure did change.
Who had bled together. The Legion's first encounter with their Primarch was humbling. They were not friends, not family. They were to be a machine, a tide of soul-hardened veterans.
But that's what he was on Olympia! Wait! Why is he turning them into the thing he's trying to escape? What is this intergenerational trauma? Ah! And Chaos didn't even touch him, he's just doing this! Okay, Big E. Tips. This is where a therapist would have been great for Peter. Just saying.
The standard. The exemplars that would be heralded as the greatest. There was no place for weakness. The Hammer of Olympia. The Primarch of the Iron Warriors. Iron within, iron without. Perturabo was now in complete command of his legion and set out upon the Great Crusade. His legion had been remade into his own image, like many of his brothers. Efficient and highly capable, siege experts but also brutal, bitter and envious. This brutal start to his command had not gone unnoticed, as many of his brothers such as Rabute Gulliman decried their decimation. As Astartes' warriors made for the reunification of humanity died like animals. Some had even fought by Gilliman's side before the discovery of Perturabo, and they deserved better. But Perturabo was made as the Emperor intended, cold and calculating. Numbers, technology, and knowledge were coded into his very being. This made it difficult for him to connect with many of his brothers, even though deep down it was what he wanted. Perhaps his only true friend was Magnus, as their fascination with hidden knowledge created a bond of respect and innovation between them. Magnus and his sorcery, Perturabo and his technology. It was perhaps only for the Emperor and Magnus that Perturabo created gifts, something he was not forced to make, but something he had wanted to create. However, as the decades progressed during the Great Crusade, the duty and wonder that captured Perturabo upon his first meeting with the Emperor began turning to ash. Perturabo was created to build, improve, and protect. He had even begun to fuse augmetics to his own brain to improve every aspect of his mind. But his very purpose was given to another, Rogel Dawn of the Imperial Fists, who received the task of fortifying the capital of Terra. Perturabo and his legion had spent a near century in constant warfare, bloody engagement after bloody engagement, slogging through conflicts so mind-numbingly apocalyptic you would be overwhelmed by it. They had cracked the toughest fortresses, they had built the mightiest bastions and outposts in the Imperium, and the task, the glory, was given to another. Did the Emperor not see their strength? Did his father not care? Did he not see how they suffered for him? A familiar feeling began to bubble under Perturabo's skin. Jealousy.
No.
Something again he could not bring himself to tell anyone, as it was a weakness. This feeling only festered over the latter days of the Great Crusade, as the Iron Warriors were constantly thrown at the worst the galaxy had to offer, bringing home impossible victories, only to then hear of the triumphs of Rogel Dawn, Sanguinius, and Guilliman across the Imperium. Hostile human federations were crushed, orc empires erased. The Legion even suffered a brutal campaign against the Hrud of the Saktarada Steppes, a region that Perturabo saw as strategically useless. Nevertheless, he dutifully oversaw the purging of the Hrud despite his Legion's heavy casualties. The Hrud, using their unique technology, would rapidly age their enemy until nothing but dust remained.
Oh.
Legionaries who caught a glancing blow found their bodies rapidly aged and falling apart. Perturabo even himself suffered a blow from these foul Xenos weapons, and though a Primarch, he'd felt his body aged. This campaign had left the Iron Warriors fleet nearly shattered. All of this suffering for a useless piece of real space his own brothers said was not worth sacrificing their legions for. All in the name of the Emperor, who had retreated to Terra and granted Horus the position of War Master. Perturabo's wounds and suffering, his legion giving their blood, it meant nothing.
Sweetheart. Decimation. An excerpt from the Hammer of Olympus.
A near century of constant warfare, Perturabo and his legion had seen the worst the galaxy had to offer, and were now a force of grizzled veterans. The Primarch was at a low point though. His legion was in shambles after the Hrud, the soldiers exhausted and desensitized, and their Primarch was angry that he had been put in this position. Then the worst news of all came. Olympia was in rebellion. Generations of families had given up their sons, never to see them again, as they died in brutal conflicts far from home. The schools were empty, the homes were quiet. This was a world celebrated for its renowned architecture, its technology, its bustling unique city cultures, and in its time under the Imperium, its resources and people were now barren. Perturabo was struck with intense anger and shame. Of all his brothers, his homeworld had rebelled. The embarrassment was immense. What would they think of the great Perturabo, the Hammer of Olympia? Rogel Dawn would never have suffered this mistake, this weakness. What would the Empress say? The Primarch organized his legion, and lit by the anger caused by great shame, they plotted a course back to Olympia. The cold and calculating demigod was filled with rage. Upon his arrival in the system, the Olympians sent diplomats to negotiate with the Primarch, relying on what they had always tried, scheming and manipulating. Perturabo was done. He saw again the eyes of vipers, the ones who in his youth saw him as a tool to be exploited, to be used. We all despise those who hurt us, the ones who in life make us feel weak, like we mean nothing, the ones who talk about us behind our back. Perturabo in truth hated all of them. He hated the nobles, the people, and in a way he hated his sons, because they never cared, they never loved him. This emotion
How can
inside
they? How can they? Bro! Oh!
the Primarch unbalanced him. It made him feel in ways that left him vulnerable, left him weak, and all this weakness must be purged. Iron within, iron without. Just as with the Legion, Perturabo ordered decimation on the entire world of Olympia. The Legion descended. Bombardments and drop pods rained from the skies, landing amongst the very fortresses and bastions the Primarch had built during his youth under Damikos. The world burned. The Astartes of the Iron Warriors had endured so much under their Primarch. The decimation, the mind-numbingly brutal conflicts, and now they were purging their very home. The boys who had grown up in these very cities, who had laughed and cried, trained, just to join the ranks of the greatest army in the galaxy, the 4th Legiones Astartes. City by city fell, the citizens purged by their increasingly reluctant Iron Warriors. Perhaps in truth, this all felt like vengeance. The punishment for the world that had treated the Primarch so poorly. Perturabo was lost in his anger, and millions would suffer for it. Staring on in his cold anger, Perturabo saved Lokos for last, the home he had been raised in, the place he'd built from a warring city-state to an empire. There he went to confront the leader of this rebellion, Caliphone, his elderly foster sister, the family he rejected so long ago.
Oh. And it's layers on layers on layers.
With
It's like
a
an
thud of a
angst
giant.
lasagna. Oh my goodness. He had so much potential. He just needed emotional regulation and a hug. Oh man.
Perturabo entered the throne room. The elderly Caliphone, augmented and altered to extend her life, was now a frail old woman, but her mind was still sharp, and her words just as venomous.
For a long time, I thought you a fool to follow the Emperor. After all, he is a tyrant, like all the rest. Look what he has done to you, I thought. He has brutalized you, and your wars have brutalized your home. But the truth is, brother, I have followed your campaigns carefully, and I noticed a pattern that disturbed and then alarmed me. Always, you do things the most difficult way and in the most painful manner. You cultivate a martyr's complex, lurching from man to man, holding out your bleeding wrists so they might see how you hurt yourself.
Ooh.
You brood in the shadows
she's reading him
when
to Phil.
all you want to do is scream, "Look at me!"
Oh,
You are
she's
too
reading him.
arrogant to win people over through effort. You expect people to notice you, there in the half-darkness, and point and shout out, "There! There is the great Perturabo! See how he labors without complaint!" You came to this court as a precocious child. Your abilities were so prodigious that nobody stopped to look at what you were becoming.
She got shakily to her feet, exoskeletal braces whirred under her skirts.
Perturabo, this will anger you, but you never truly grew into a man.
Oh!
I am not.
She called him a man-child! Rightfully so. Oh! He seems well-adjusted. No. Man-child.
Not a man.
He said,
I am far more.
In those words is the poison that spoils your potential. It is not the Emperor who has driven this world into rebellion. It is not he who has held it back. It is you and your woeful egotism. Let me tell you, my brother, you who affects to despise love so much, yet must certainly crave it over all other things, you are the biggest fool I have ever met.
with a cry of anger,
Oh, he's an avoidant and he knows it. Oh man. Hello, Flame.
Perturabo lunged forwards and grasped her by the throat.
Ah!
He raised her up
Ah!
until she was level with his eyes. She grabbed weakly
What did
at
you
his
do?
wrist. Her mouth gasped for air.
I am far from a fool, sister.
He said,
I wished for more from life. I hoped to build a better world for people. I have found that there is only brutality. Whether the court intrigues of the tyrants or this war to conquer the stars, it is all the same. Violence is the constant of human existence.
No.
she choked.
It need not be. That is the violence within you speaking.
No.
It should have
no,
been
no.
love.
He said smoothly.
I know my own limitations. My temper does not cloud my judgment. It
I don't know about all
focuses
that.
it.
I don't know about all that.
Humanity is venal and fractious. It can never be governed as one. Everything else is an impossible dream. There is no peace. There is no goodness.
He stroked away the hair from his sister's face with one hand as he strangled her with the other.
What?
And in such a flawed universe there can be no mercy for traitors.
She choked, trying and failing to speak. Coldly, Perturabo squeezed the life from her.
No!
You have lived long enough.
She kept her eyes locked with his as he throttled her, even as her clawing hands became more desperate, and a dreadful clicking sounded in her throat. She stared into his soul. What he saw reflected in her eyes was not fear, not loathing, but pity.
Compassion? Oh,
For the
okay.
last minor
Oh,
effort,
pity.
he crushed her neck. Her eyes rolled back to show the whites, and she judged him no more. He stared at her in hatred a moment, wavering on the brink of tearing her body to pieces. But a sob escaped his mouth unexpectedly, and he gently lowered her back into her throne. Her head lolled on its broken neck. Warning chimes peeped insistently from the augmetics concealed in her skirt. A trickle of blood ran from her mouth. Appalled at what he had done, Perturabo turned away.
He got a temper tantrum and killed his sister! Okay, whew, take a breath from that one. Take a breath. And continue.
He murdered her. He killed his own family with his bare hands. I think he realized that he was wrong. There were people who cared about him. People who saw how magnificent he was, and he was blind to it. Caliphone was right about him. No one had forced him to be a slave to tyrants. He chose it. He put himself through the most brutal conflicts in the galaxy. He had offered it willingly, all in the name of receiving praise as the strongest, the legion, the man without weakness. For the second time in his life, Perturabo cried, not tears of joy for when he met his father, but tears of pain and shame. He murdered his own family and purged his home because of his insecurities. The Primarch became gripped with fear. How was the Emperor ever going to forgive this atrocity? But nothing came. No censure, no punishment, no justice. In fact, just nothing. Perturabo had done something unforgivable, only to be met with silence. No one cared. The Emperor didn't care. It was just another securing of a non-compliant world. Perturabo was made to build and protect, to create a future for humanity. But how was the Emperor any different from Damikos, from the nobles of Olympia? He was just another uncaring tyrant. It was at Perturabo's lowest point when Horus came to him. The War Master, already corrupted by chaos, began to whisper in his ear.
That's the last person you should speak to! Perturabo! Talk to Sanguinius! Talk to Gilliman even! Why are we talking to Horus? Oh.
The Emperor, he is an unjust tyrant. Serve me and I will acknowledge you, your gifts, your genius, your strength. The Emperor has lied to us. He has lied about the warp. I will forgive you for your atrocities, brother. Perturabo was vulnerable. He hated more than anything to be vulnerable, to be weak. Perturabo pledged his service to Horus and betrayed the Imperium. With the betrayal of Horus at the infamous Isstvan III massacre revealed, the Emperor had ordered the Iron Warriors and 6 other legions to destroy the 4 traitor legions upon the world of Isstvan V. A battle that could only be described as apocalyptic begun upon the world, with the Iron Hands, Salamanders and Raven Guard attacking in the first wave. The battle was titanic and brutal. Warriors that had fought over a century by each other's side shattered their bonds in a maelstrom of hatred. The first wave began to retreat, and the 3 legions called upon their reinforcements: the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Word Bearers, and Alpha Legion, but they remained silent. It was in the silence that the realization came, and the 4 legions unleashed a barrage upon the 3 loyalist legions, decimating them. Perturabo finished it by launching a nucleonic missile straight at his brother Vulcan of the Salamanders, killing thousands. It did not matter. They were tools of a tyrant. It wasn't personal. Only Horus and his forgiveness mattered. In celebration of this victory, Horus granted Perturabo Forgebreaker, the hammer Fulgrim had forged for Ferrus long ago as a sign of his office and commitment to the War Master, a leader who would value him. Perturabo had felt weak. He needed to claim back his pride and strength, and it would be the fools loyal to the tyrant emperor who would suffer, especially the one who had taken away his purpose and praise, Rogel Dawn. The Iron Warriors and Perturabo unleashed their fury. World after world fell to the traitors as the years of the heresy progressed. Perturabo destroying bastions raised by the Imperial fists, such as the world of Hydra Caudatus. Perturabo was beginning to feel strong again.
I am shocked.
Billions would suffer for it. For years the heresy rages across the Imperium. Perturabo and the traitors began to devolve. The purging of Olympia had broken him and the Legion. Now they were remade into warriors, bereft of humanity. Their strength only increased as they became aware of the powers in the warp. Perturabo had no desire to serve any gods, but the powers of the warp were intriguing. Following the slaughter at Hydra Caudatus, Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children approached the Lord of Iron. He offered gifts, such as a necklace called the Malgeta Stone, and spoke of a weapon called the Angel Exterminatus, a tool to boost their power immeasurably. Fulgrim was obsessed with being the perfect warrior, something that struck a chord with the Lord of Iron. This long ago had created a bond of respect between the two, perhaps not as friends, but definitely as brothers. Perturabo agreed, and the two legions set out to the Eye of Terror, the very warp tear that had filled the Primarch with paranoia as a child. Making their way through the warp storms, the legion attacked the bastion that held the weapon, a dilapidated crone world of the Eldar. The legion broke through, only for Fulgrim to go missing. Suspicious, Perturabo followed deeper into the bastion, until there he saw him, Fulgrim, smiling. Perturabo fell to the ground. The gift Fulgrim had given him was a betrayal. The Malgeta Stone brought the Primarch to his knees. It was draining his very essence away. Fulgrim had sold his soul to the powers of the warp, and he was going to sacrifice Perturabo to achieve demonhood.
No!
Fulgrim laughed maniacally, chastising the foolishness of Perturabo. How could he ignore the truth of the dark gods?
Mankind has no need of gods,
said Perturabo.
We outgrew them a long time ago.
Fulgrim laughed, though Perturabo saw that the effort of holding his swelling body together was taking every ounce of his concentration. Beads of light, mercury bright, sweated from his skin, dripping from the cruciform stance in silver droplets.
Think you so? Then why are there still gods? Belief empowers them, and we worship them in every act of slaughter, betrayal, depravity, and quest for immortality we undertake. Whether we know it or not, we offer them fealty every day.
Perturabo shook his head.
I worship nothing. I believe in nothing.
The finality of the last utterance almost stopped him in his tracks. The force of it was like a blow, a bitter seed of truth he had never acknowledged or known until this moment. He saw the awareness of it reflected in Fulgrim's eyes.
And that is why you live a stale, bitter life,
said Fulgrim, contempt and pity dripping from his scornful words.
You let yourself be abused, crushed into slavery by a god who doesn't even have the decency to admit what he is. Our once father ascended to godhood long ago and denies others their place at the table. He promised us a new world to live in, but he was always to be above us, the master with his loyal lapdog slaves.
Is that why you sided with Horus?
Demanded Perturabo, standing right in front of Fulgrim, his enraged features so close that none could come between them.
Jealousy, vanity, such pettiness is for the weak. We were made for greater things.
What would you know of greater things?
sneered Fulgrim.
You don't know the things I dream.
Said Perturabo.
No one does. No one ever cared enough to find out.
Fulgrim's head shot forwards, and a musk of glittering vapor, pink and veined with arterial red, blew from his open mouth, enveloping Perturabo in its astrogant reek, part perfume, part cesspit.
Then show me your dreams, brother, and let me make them real.
Fulgrim forced his way into his mind and saw the vision that Perturabo had dreamed every night since leaving Olympia. Paradise. A world of marble mountains and luscious trees. Cities designed in utter perfect detail, each distinct and luxurious, in dedication to learning, culture, art, technology and wisdom. A world where Perturabo was a creator, a scholar, a place with no war. Perturabo strode along the perfect walkways and felt the love of the people. They lauded his genius and works. He had created paradise, and it was he who protected it. All Perturabo wanted was to create and to feel loved. No tyrants, no manipulators, a future without blemish or weakness. Ripped back into reality, Fulgrim's ritual was interrupted by a ragtag group of loyalists, who in their ambush destroyed the Malgeta stone, freeing the Primarch. Feeling his strength return, Perturabo looked one last time into Fulgrim's eyes, and saw nothing of the brother he knew. He raised Dawnbreaker and smashed Fulgrim with a blow that could level a mountain, but it was too late, and Fulgrim burst into primordial flame, transforming into a demon Primarch. Wounded physically and spiritually, Perturabo and his legion retreated. The events of the Angel Exterminatus began another shift in the mind of the Lord of Iron. He'd almost died to a brother who should have been his ally. His brothers were changing. The early days of the heresy were about toppling the tyrant who had used them as tools for an empire that was doomed to fail. But as the years of the heresy progressed, they were changing. The word bearers of Lorgar had bonded some of their warriors to denizens of the warp. The Emperor's children almost looked unrecognizable with their body modifications. Brutal.
Bro, the cognitive dissonance to be like, yeah, the Emperor's dream, not a good one. Let's overthrow him using whatever tactics necessary, like chaos. And then we can get a world of peace and prosperity. Bro, what do you mean? What do you mean we're going to use the demons and the warp to get peace and utopia? Hello? Listen to yourself! Someone give them a journal. Let them write this shit down and read it and be like, whoa, that's actually dumb. Am I okay? Yeah.
Conflicts, titanic sieges, the heresy kept progressing, pushing back the loyalists, and Perturabo could see his brothers become more and more twisted by the powers of the Immaterium. Even Grandfather Nurgle came directly to the Iron Warriors in the form of the lost sons of Horus legionary Karlach. This bloated and corrupted marine spoke to Perturabo. The Plague Father offers him a crown. He offers him power. And he offers immortality. For somehow the corrupted marine knew Perturabo was dying. The ritual of the Angel Exterminatus had wounded his soul, and the Lord of Iron was dying slowly. In truth, Perturabo knew this too. He'd already begun to augment his body and armor, furthering it almost into a life support system. Karlach told him that his strength was failing. He was weak. And that if he ever faced his brother Angron, he would die. Perturabo gave his answer and destroyed Karlach and his twisted followers. They had made a mistake. They all had. It was the mistake of both the loyalists and the traitors. They had underestimated Perturabo. The Lord of Iron and his legion's heart had grown dark. They betrayed the Imperium and burned worlds. They had learned the truth of the warp and began to study it. Perturabo had seen how his brothers were becoming tools of warp entities. Fulgrim's betrayal had hardened his heart. No longer would he suffer the weakness of shame. The destruction of Olympia now meant nothing to him. Like the child who burns down the village to feel its warmth, Perturabo had burned his home as vengeance for the love he felt they denied him. But he no longer needed that love. Caliphone had been right. He was always desperate for approval, but he no longer needed the Emperor's approval. Perturabo had begun to purge the weakness in his heart.
What does he need?
Iron within, iron without.
What does he need?
War Master Horus assembled Perturabo and Lorgar. Terror was within their sights, and the Imperial tyrant would be destroyed. But the effects of Chaos corruption on the other legions had turned them into more of a rabble rather than a legion. Lorgar was sent to bring the demon Primarch Fulgrim. As for Perturabo, he was ordered to muster the now cornate demon Primarch Angron, to assemble to assault the solar system, and then terror. Was this the death Chaos had predicted? No. Perturabo's greatest weapon had always been his mind. A tool sharpened with over a century of warfare, combined with his inbuilt genius and now new knowledge of warpcraft. Perturabo assembled his iron warriors upon a hill on the planet Deluge and waited. The World Eaters came. Not a disciplined legion, but a screaming host of corrupted marines, led by the demonic beast Angron. Volleys railed from the Iron Warriors, obliterating the World Eaters. As Angron's bloodlust was uncontrollable, he rushed in, right into the Lord of Iron's trap. It was no duel. It was a tamer reeling in his beast.
You think I am weak?
Perturabo's voice boomed over the grill of his helm. Angron struck him twice again. Splinters of the metal fell from the Lord of Iron as he staggered once more.
But you have grown weaker, Angron.
The demon Primarch lashed a kick into Perturabo and struck once, twice, 3 times as the Lord of Iron stumbled back and crashed to his knees.
I have learned. I have remade my strength, while you have sold yours out of despair.
Argonis heard the words, heard the spite in them, the cold bitterness. There was something else there, too. Something that made Argonis think of the knife duels in the dark warrens of Chthoniya. Cuts meant to goad, not kill. Angron roared, and in the fraction of time that gave, Perturabo was on his feet. Forgebreaker moving faster than before. The air shook as its head struck and struck again, and there was blood on the baked mud of the ground beneath the two. Angron was scattering burning blood and broken armor. He lashed a fist at Perturabo. Claws tore the front of the Lord of Iron's helm. Perturabo's skin was pale grey, streaked with blood beneath.
You are weak,
snarled Perturabo.
You are a slave. You were born a slave, and a slave you remain.
Angron cut Perturabo. Argonis did not see it done, just the Lord of Iron suddenly still. A crimson trail running down his chest, and glowing gashes smiling across his torso. Angron was striking again, but somehow he seemed to be shrinking, the edges of his shadow and flame bulk retreating like a wave from the shore. Perturabo struck back, and hammer and axe met.
Your strength flees!
Roared Perturabo.
It does not belong to you. It is your master's, and the chain that keeps you throttles you. The threads of blood are thinning. The meal of slaughter will only keep you here long enough to see your bastard sons die.
Angron turned towards the circle of Autima surrounding them. His axe lashed out, burning gouges across the front of the circles of shields, again and again scoring deep.
Their skin is my skin,
called Perturabo.
A gift of suffering at the hands of our brother.
He was walking towards Angron, limping, but hammer in hand.
You think that I would let your kind wield your weapons against me? I have taken their measure.
Angron whirled, wings extending to carry him back at his brother. Perturabo raised his hands, weapon pods unfolding from his armored shell. Angron's tattered shadow wings beat. Perturabo fired. Streams of energy and exotic rounds blazed across the space between the two. Fire and explosions wreathed Angron. Ectoplasmic smoke billowed off him. His wings were broken frames of bone, draped with scrapes of skin. Perturabo came forward as he kept up the fusillade, each step a slow thud of braced pistons.
They will die, here, on this hill. They will die without striking a blow. All of your best mongrel sons of slaughter. They will die, and your battered soul will watch as it fades back into the dark.
Oh. Dang. It's intense. I'm like locked in on this drama.
Perturabo defeated Angron, a demon Primarch. All that world-bending power is meaningless if uncontrollable and not paired with an equally powerful intellect. Reeling from the mess that was the World Eater's Legion, the remaining traitors gathered for the final assault upon the solar system, and then terror itself. Perturabo's power had grown, his augmetics, his warcraft knowledge, but most importantly, his emotional stability. The boy, so desperate for approval, had hardened his heart. He didn't really need to prove anything to anyone, other than himself. The closeness he had felt for Horus in the beginning of the heresy had begun to fade. Since Horus had re-emerged from the warp on the world of Molech, it was different. The War Master had been gone for mere moments, but emerged significantly older. Something fundamental had changed in Horus. He was difficult to reach. Delegating commands to Abaddon, a mere marine, he no longer took counsel with his brothers. He spoke to the dark gods of the warp as divine masters. Perturabo again was finding himself in the very situation he was fighting against, being used as a tool underneath a tyrant. You can imagine how uneasy this feeling may have been. Perturabo betrayed his father, the Imperium, and half of his brothers for Horus, who now seemed to be just a replacement rather than a liberator. The ties of loyalty between the traitors was falling apart. Perhaps the only real thing left between them was the fear of retaliation. The traitor forces slammed into the solar system, millions of rebellious and corrupted forces fighting tooth and nail against the proactive defense of the loyalists. Now came the test. The siege expertise of Perturabo versus the fortifications of Rogel Dawn. A chance to put this old rivalry to the test. Brutal naval conflicts, bitter ground deployments, and titanic clashes raged as the forces met. Slowly the traitors pushed forward, getting closer and closer to the Imperial Palace, but cracks between the traitors just grew. Fulgrim and his celestially corrupted legion were more interested in capturing slaves. Mortarion and his Death Guard were just throwing poxes at the psychic defences of the Imperial Palace. Magnus and his 1,000 sons were missing. It had become clear to Perturabo that he was the only sane traitor actually involved on the ground level, though in truth he was not much better. In the battle for the Lion's Gate spaceport, he even willingly sacrificed his own sons to buy time, like how a king on a chessboard uses his pawns. Though not corrupted by chaos, Perturabo was, and always had been, cold and calculating, and it was clear at this point his legion was simply resources to use in his goals. The traitors now were so close, no thanks to the efforts of Perturabo. The battle of feints, assaults, sallies, and bombardments between the Lord of Iron and Rogel Dawn were a bitter duel of the brilliant minds. Piece by piece, the traitors were closer to domination. But was this the victory he wanted? He was deposing a tyrant, only now to replace him with another. Horus was using him. He had seen the difference between Horus and his brothers. Whilst they were uncontrollable and pathetic, Horus was powerful and disciplined. Even his aura almost pushed him to his knees. But Horus had just become another servant, rather than using his power as an augmentation. Just like in Fulgrim's eyes, Perturabo could see there was nothing truly left of his brother. The call was sent. the Iron Warriors Legion reassembled and abandoned the siege of Terra. Damned if he stayed, damned if he left, but so be it. He would prepare for the wars to come. We all change. Look back 5 years, and at times that person can be unrecognizable. Perturabo had lived nearly 2 centuries, and is almost completely unrecognizable after the Horus heresy. From that boy, all alone in the mountains having to survive and adapt, to the naive man growing up in the court of Damikos, being taken advantage of, never connecting with anyone, paranoid about the tear in the sky no one else could see, being insecure about showing any signs of failure or weakness, to meeting the Emperor and finally feeling love, connection and purpose, for all of it to turn bitter as his accomplishments, his dedication and suffering were ignored. Consumed by jealousy, hatred and shame, he burned his homeworld and murdered his foster family, and when he awoke from that haze he was consumed by guilt, something his own brother took advantage of and offered him salvation in return for dethroning the tyrant who used him just like the Olympians. Perturabo joined Horus and pushed the loyalists all the way to Terra, but on that journey his heart hardened. The betrayal of Fulgrim, the mortal wound, seeing his brothers becoming enslaved to warp entities. By the time they had reached Terra, only he and Horus were still remarkably sane. But Horus had changed too, and turned into an uncaring tyrant, just like their father. What did Perturabo want? He had long dreamed of utopia, a domain where he was a scholar, a creator, a place where he wasn't weak, but powerful. By turning his back on Horus, he'd overcome his greatest weakness, the need for others' approval. He had seen how his brothers like Angron and Fulgrim were enslaved to the dark gods, undisciplined and insane. But most importantly, he was dying, slowly bleeding strength. The greatest weakness of all is failure. Death is failure. Shortly after the abandonment of the siege, the news came. Horus was dead. The Emperor was crippled, but the Loyalists had won, and they were coming for the traitor legions, and so Perturabo prepared. On the world of Sebastus IV, the Iron Warriors created the Eternal Fortress, a near impregnable bastion that looked like an 8-pointed star of chaos. It was a trap, designed to lure one whose rivalry was never truly settled, Rogel Dawn. The Praetorian of Terra, consumed by despair in what had become of the Emperor, declared he would dig Perturabo out of his hole and bring him back to Terra in an iron cage. The battle between the two legions begun, a brutal slog between the greatest siege experts known to man. But Rogel Dawn, since Terra, was a broken man, and the battle became a pseudo-punishment for his legion, as they pushed further and further, caring nothing for casualties, until the trap was sprung. Perturabo and the Iron Warriors turned it from a siege into a prison, cutting off the Imperial Fist from the outside. It was a slaughter, and would have been the end for them if not for the untimely intervention of the Ultramarines. But the battle was done. Perturabo had shown his superiority and left with his victory. But now there was one last opponent to defeat: death. Perturabo during the heresy had seen his brothers, how dedication to one of the dark gods left you a slave to their whims. But what if you were dedicated to all? What if the dark gods had to come to him? What if they fought for his attention against each other? He had studied the warp. None of the others, not even Horus, understood it like he did. Chaos could be the tool to augment his power to an untouchable level. They could prevent his death, his failure. He made his choice. The gene seed of over 400 Imperial Fists, captured by the Iron Warriors in the Iron Cage, was sacrificed to the Dark Gods. Perturabo was elevated to the rank of Demon Prince, of Chaos Undivided. He was given a world, a domain to call his own, a place to create utopia. The journey of Perturabo is tragic. It is almost fitting that the material he found resonance with is iron, because in reality we all know that iron is brittle. Perturabo was a genius, gifted and powerful, but his heart was his greatest weakness. The absence of love in his life is the crux of all the pain he put himself through. His real weakness was the fact that he could not accept weakness itself. Unable to share them, bottles it up inside until it turns to resentment and hate. He created perhaps the deadliest legion in the Imperium, created the best technology, devised the greatest strategies, a true titan of physical and mental prowess. He even became an immortal demon, but he is alone. Men who have iron within don't have the strength to love anything, and the greatest tragedy in this universe is to live life without love.
Yeah. I mean, he caused greater tragedies, so like GG. But I don't know. The Iron Warriors had their own way to create Space Marines. They made women birth fully grown Space Marines. What do you mean? Aren't Space Marines like 6 feet tall? What the heck? Okay. Okay, Peter. I get it. But also, I don't know. I feel like I think I say this with all of the Primarchs. The communications could have been better. Cause like it started off okay. The Emperor got him and everything. Was he too far gone at that point? Could the Emperor have done anything different in his tutelage? Yeah, the Emperor wasn't made to be their father. He was made to be like their general or whatever. Like, he's not there to be daddy of the year. All angst, no chill. Put in the turbo in Perturabo. Yeah. Like, where could the intervention have come in? Was he too far gone by the time he met the Emperor? What do you think he was too far gone by the time he met the Emperor, or could he still be saved? What do you think? Because like he was pretty scarred from like birth. Okay, eating those little sheeps and wearing their skin, and then killing that snake because it killed a little kid, and then being forced to be the tyrant's son. The Emperor is the reason the Death Guard Primarch and Lorgar and Angra unturned. I mean, I don't know if he's the reason. I think the lack of communication and the chaos was kind of the reason, you know. But yeah. What communication would Perturabo have needed? Because he got what he wanted, right? He got his father, the Emperor being like, I found you, son, and I want you to be great and go and create great things. Like, that's what he wanted. And then he got his legion and he freaking called the weak on them, you know? He may have been saved if he had a good friend. Yeah, but there's nothing the Emperor could have done about that at that point. If he had a good friend, or I don't know, his sister, Caliphany, like, she was only big sis afterwards. What was she doing? What was she doing in their childhood? He didn't know how to talk to people. True, he didn't. Like, what did Caliphany do? What was their dynamic? Why is she so wise, when he's about to kill her? Did he not stick up Did she not stick up for him when they were kids? She was like, all you wanted was to be loved. Did you love him, big sis? Did you? I don't know. He needed a friend. He needed a hug. He needed a family that loved him. Yeah. He needed a home. He needed a lot. He didn't need any more snakes. Anyways. So, that's his history. Now, where the heck has he been? Where the heck has he been? Let's find out. Together.
With the return of Angron, Fulgrim, Mortarion and Magnus in recent 40k lore, it seems like every single traitor Primarch is returning to the 42nd millennium, but it raises...
She did love him? He just didn't care? Oh my goodness. He's like, okay. Let us see. Perturabo, he's giving one of those guys, right, who loses his first who has things going great with the girl and he messes it up and he takes that out on every person afterwards in dating, and he doesn't realize that all of his problems were his own cause. And he's like, I will never trust a woman again. All they do is hurt me, even though he was the one who hurt her. And he's afraid of commitment, and he's an avoidant, and he's afraid of abandonment. But he won't let other people in. Yeah. Oh my, she was the only one who he felt truly appreciated by. And then we kill her? Come on. Gilliman had Gillimom, and Perturabo had Big Sis, and it still ended up this way. Bruh. Okay. Where is he now? Where is he now? He's too bitter to make it worthwhile. This guy, man, this guy.
The question, where are all the other traitor Primarchs? We know that Horus, Conrad Curse, and possibly one of the Alpha Legion twins is dead. We know that Lorgar is stuck in the warp, constantly being haunted by Corvus Corax, but we are missing someone. Where is Perturabo? Where has the Lord of Iron been for the last 10,000 years? Well, like most people, I thought GW just put him in the background and completely forgot about him, until very recently, when I was reading the 8th edition Death Guard Codex, where, to my surprise, I read about thousands of Iron Warriors battling the Plague Marines. The War of Rust and Ruin. And behold, Perturabo is back in the Materium. And he is not just fighting chaos, he is back at besieging the Imperium. What if I told you, Perturabo is fully back in the lore? Not just one quick source mentioning him. No, multiple novels, short stories and codexes are all talking about his return. Perturabo is not just back, he has been busy. From obliterating fellow Chaos forces to announce his return, laying siege to an entire segmentum of the Imperium, all the way to his apparent dabblings with Chaos that somehow have made him able to cast magic and create tech viruses.
Now he's mad.
Perturabo has become an absolute menace. By the end of today's video, you will know every excerpt and source for the return of Perturabo, what he has been up to, how his power has exponentially grown throughout the millennia, and now that he is back, sieging everything he sees, what is his current plan? Why has he returned all of a sudden? And why is he attacking everyone? I will put the sources of each segment in the bottom left hand corner throughout the video, just in case you want to check and read these awesome lore tidbits yourself. All that and a whole lot more in today's video. Alright, let's get into the lore. Before we go over all of the new lore surrounding the return of Perturabo, we first need to take a look at how Perturabo even ended up here. Don't
Okay, we
worry,
did take a look
I'll
at
keep
that.
this quick,
Okay,
because
thank
I
you.
imagine a lot of people watching this video already are massive Iron Warrior fans, and
Or maybe we watched a 1 hour and 5-minute Amber King video, huh? Ever thought of that?
already know most of this, so see it as a quick lore refresher.
I love a refresher.
Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, was counted among the most dedicated sons of the Emperor during the Great Crusade, a warrior and general who not only shared the Emperor's vision, but like Horus, truly believed in it. Yet Perturabo was so eager to prove his worthiness and dedication to the crusade that it led to him breaking not only his own legion, his mental, and the trust of the people of Olympia, but also spawned some of the most brutal war zones the fledgling Imperium had ever seen. For the Iron Warriors, the Great Crusade was an endless series of sieges, a constant barrage of artillery fire, and casualty raids that made even the World Eaters take a pause. To make matters worse, Perturabo was an utterly brutal commander. His mastery of siege warfare was methodical and practical, but his sons were turned into little more than butcher crews and tools of war. Siege warfare is something so nightmarish in 40k that not even the greatest amongst the Legiones Astartes could dedicate their lives to it without it slowly breaking them down. So when other Primarchs showered themselves in the glory of easier campaigns, Perturabo grew bitter. The soul and the hope of the 4th Legion would die countless times throughout the Great Crusade. But as the Legion bombed its own homeworld of Olympia, Perturabo had sealed his fate. He had gone too far and joined Warmaster Horus in his rebellion against the Emperor of Mankind. For Perturabo, the Horus heresy was a cruel affair. His sons were the very tip of the spear across countless war zones, destroying the greatest bastions built by his brothers, or sometimes even the ones Perturabo built himself during the Crusade. The Lord of Iron became isolated from his brothers, who slowly descended into the madness of chaos. Fulgrim had attempted to kill him to gain more power. Angron was a beast who needed to be put in a cage, and Mortarion was as repulsive as ever. But while the breaking point for the Iron Warrior Legion was Olympia, for Perturabo himself, it was the Siege of Terra. Here on humanity's cradle, the Lord of Iron would finally be given his recognition by Horus. Here, Perturabo began tearing apart the Imperial Palace, for which Dorn was given endless praise. Unfortunately, however, a couple months later, Horus, either in his infinite madness or finite wisdom, would relieve Perturabo of commanding the siege, and instead gave it over to Mortarion to finish the job. Perturabo didn't lash out with anger as he used to. Instead, he looked at the beasts and demons and decided to no longer be a part of this insanity. The Iron Warriors left the siege. Perturabo vowed that both Rogaldorn and Mortarion would taste his bloody vengeance. They had ruined his triumph as the true master of siege warfare, and they would bloody well know it. His first target, Rogaldorn, would be broken on Sebastus IV during the Scouring, a battle that lasted for over a month and saw the Imperial Fist Legion broken in the infamous Iron Cage War. The Eternal Fortress, which was not actually a fortress at all, was essentially a kill zone, consisting of kilometers of raw killing ground, traps, and endless bunkers designed to obliterate invading forces. Perturabo made Dorn pay. He didn't want to kill him, he wanted to defeat him and watch him suffer. And by the gods, did he make Dorn suffer. Horus was already dead at this point, so now that only left the Emperor and Mortarion to face the Lord of Iron's endless wrath. It has been 10,000 years since these apocalyptic days. Perturabo has become a true veteran of the Long War. But when Cadia broke, Not only would Mortarion face Perturabo, the master of the Iron Warriors laid siege to an entire segmentum of the Imperium. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at the War of Rust and Ruin, the first point in recent lore where we see the true and official return of Perturabo.
Yeah, okay, let's see it.
When Cadia was finally broken by the 13th Black Crusade, the Imperium would face a reckoning unlike any seen before. The traitor Primarchs themselves would lead their Astarte sons in destroying what was rebuilt in the last 10,000 years. Mortarion started a great war with his brother Rabute Guilliman. The two would face each other in Ultramar during the so-called Plague Wars. Yet even when Guilliman was killed by the Godblight, a disease designed by Nurgle and Kugat to specifically kill a Primarch, the Emperor refused to let his son die and revived him on the spot, burning Nurgle's garden in the process. What should have been a decisive victory was turned into Mortarion's most shameful defeat. Yet a Primarch is not a weapon to be discarded, even by the Chaos Gods. And soon, Mortarion was needed once again. On the world of Dissectus, a vast Death Guard force advanced through pyroclastic storms in search of the Temple of Ascension. Yet before Mortarion could claim his prize, Perturabo appeared before his force. The Iron Warriors were supported by the Titans of Legio Abhorax, and before anything was said, they opened fire. For hours, the continent-shattering battle raged. This battle is what became known as the War of Rust and Ruin. Hordes of demons were summoned, countless millions of munitions were spent, all the while Mortarion and Perturabo dueled for over 7 hours. The devastation, the casualties lost, and raw power unleashed by both sides were something reminiscent of the Horus Heresy. Yet the longer the fighting raged on, the more and more contagions and metalliphage boxes of the Death Guard spread through the Iron Warrior ranks. The ancient heretics sickened and collapsed on the spot, their bodies giving out to the demonic viruses. Malevolent war engines seized with rust and sparked to a halt as their imprisoned spirits shrieked with agony. Even normal machine spirits went mad with revulsion and pain, and as the power of entropy and decay ran rampant, the battle slowly started to swing in Mortarion's favor. With his forces in tatters, and many of his precious war engines crippled beyond repair, even the bitter and vengeful Perturabo finally conceded defeat. Falling back to pre-prepared defense lines, he detonated a series of explosive trenches amidst the raging storms, and disengaged in the ensuing mayhem. Badly mauled but triumphant, Mortarion and his Death Guard finally laid claim to the Heathen Temple they fought so hard for, and uncovered the ancient relics that lay at its heart. So that's Perturabo's return arc. He fights Mortarion, loses, nukes the place, and leaves. Alright, a bit disappointing, not gonna lie. But he is active and about again.
He nuked
Luckily,
the place at
this
least.
is not the only source of his return. Let's take a look at every mention of what he and the Iron Warriors have been up to in recent lore.
Other than lose to Mortarion. What'd he do? What'd he do? What'd he do?
Although we sadly don't have the dates for all of the following battles, they showcase some of Perturabo's actions throughout the millennia, and what he has been building up to. Perturabo's curse.
He's an architect.
As a demon Primarch. Do not worry, we will cover this in more detail later.
What?
Perturabo twists the 8 rituals of possession to his own will. By invoking Nurgle, Perturabo imbues his curse with contagion. He releases it on the systems of Toil, a vassal fort world which will be destroyed by chaos.
He's
After
bioweaponing?
8 days, giant cables burst from the earth. Demonic engines hunt the living, and many-legged cathedrals of industry prowl the waste. The planet is scoured of all native flesh. A rebellion crushed. On the hive world of Cornucopian, the Iron Warriors exact a heavy toll in tithes of materials to be paid. allowing the Iron Warriors to keep fighting their endless wars. When the capital hive of Steelstone Keep rises in rebellion after being ordered to double their tithes, Perturabo hears through the warp the oath of vengeance declared by a cult leader as he was killed with smith hammers. Perturabo orders Steelstone Keep to be made into an example. The Iron Warriors attacked with train-shaped demon engines, burrowing through the world's crust and spewing forth lava and Iron Warriors into the hive. Iron Warrior kill teams fought room to room, intending to gut the entire hive city. The only evidence of the rebellion that now remains is a metallic mountain filled with molten rock. The 10th Black Crusade. During Abaddon's 10th Black Crusade, the War Master of Chaos and the Lord of Iron formed a dark alliance between the Black Legion and the Iron Warriors. During this Black Crusade, Perturabo promised to help Abaddon if he, in return, settled an old debt of vengeance against the Iron Hands. Perturabo opened an ancient warp route out of the Eye of Terror for Abaddon's fleet, allowing him to completely bypass the Cadian Gate. This allowed Abaddon to cause havoc within the Imperium and further his own dark goals. Later, when Abaddon began his 13th Black Crusade, Perturabo would arm him with powerful demonic engines, and the Iron Warriors themselves finally joined the Black Crusade. But as you can imagine, Perturabo returning to 40k is gonna shake up a lot of things. Let's take a look at what his own sons think of his return, which is where we also get the real answer as to why Perturabo has returned in the first place.
What have they been thinking? Please tell me what they think.
Among the Iron Warriors, internal strife and conflicts happen rather often, but they still resemble a legion of sorts, a rarity amongst the Chaos Space Marine legions. While they do honor the Chaos Gods as a pantheon, they are not truly devout, and their true loyalty is only to Perturabo, who they believe saved them from the false Emperor. Many warsmiths still act in the best interest of Perturabo. Some simply seek to obliterate everything he hated about the Imperium, and nothing more. Perhaps few Iron Warriors are as good an example as Master Shangrel. Let's take a look at an excerpt from the Master's bidding, where he talks about his Genefather and how his response to things affects the entire Legion at all times. By the day of my ascension to my own command, when I watched a cohort of Iron Warriors raise their fists above their heads and shout their loyalty to me, I knew my first endeavor would be to once again see the sign of the fist and the sign of the Omega brought low together. Hegoru, this was the world I chose for my purpose. Slow boiling Hegoru with its shifting lands of slick grey rock and the rich red cauldrons of its oceans under silver skies. I had passed close by there in the Crusade, and you, any of you, did your fleets take you into the galactic southwest? No answer, no matter. At Hegoru, we heard, the Imperial Fist had celebrated the world's compliance with a ring of great works around the polar coast, so they said, giving it a regal coronet to celebrate its ascension to our human Imperium. We laughed to hear that, until we saw that Perturabo did not laugh, but looked at the pigs through hooded eyes, and then turned his back upon them. From then on, we only spoke of yellow-crowned Hegoru in soft and bitter tones. For some added context, Master Shangrel is a four-legged dreadnought who commands his very own warband of Iron Warriors. Shangrel was once a young legionary during the Great Crusade, with his legacy being forged during the Siege of Terra. Shangrel is a true veteran of the Long War, yet even now, as the ruler over his own fortress, he remains utterly loyal to Perturabo. If his Primarch called, his distant fortress would answer without hesitation. Even, as explained later in his speech, his attack on Hegoru was because of no other reason than to spite the Imperial Fist and Ultramarines in the name of Perturabo, simply to make his father smile. While Shangrel is an
He loves
ancient
him!
veteran, the same cannot be said for Honshu. Honshu stands out amongst the warsmiths for being a half-breed. His gene seed is a fusion of Imperial Fist and Iron Warrior gene seed. Yeah, super heretical, and one of the few examples
that?
of Chimera gene seed. While
did that to
Honshu
him?
is a truly legendary figure worthy of a video of his own, for now, what is important to know is that Honshu cares little for what anyone thinks. Honshu starts fights
He
with
took
just
after
about
Dad.
anyone,
Oh, he's
from
taking after
Cornate
Dad.
Emperor sides to the entire Ultramarine chapter. Honshu
The
has
entire?
never really backed down from any fight. Even when he took part in the Skull Harvest, Huron Blackheart himself was forced to put him in his place and make him follow the actual rules. Yet Perturabo saw value in this insolent warsmith back during the Horus Heresy.
I guess I know that most legions love their Primarchs, but like, I feel like Perturabo was a bit strict on them. I didn't know that the intergenerational trauma of him wanting love also carried on to them while they were killing off a third of their brothers. Honshu is a real piece of work. Where are we getting these guys? Hello, a four-legged dreadnought who loves daddy? Oh my.
Perturabo demoted one of his senior warsmiths for failing and randomly raised up a line legionary to replace him, named Kruger. Perturabo elevated Kruger because he needed fresh blood and new insights to help the Iron Warriors rise above their weaknesses. Yet for all of Honshu's belligerent nature, when the Lord of Iron called to meet him, Honshu came before his Primarch almost humbled. The two would play many games of strategy to test one another, yet Honshu never won until their last game. Honshu had a deep respect for Perturabo and was both fearful and awe-inspired by the
He was playing games with his sons? Hello? Dark Angels actively kill fallen members of their legion. Okay, well, I feel like he kind of went crazy on him, you know? I don't know. I guess it's good to get the perspectives of his legion because dang, bro. That's crazy. I was like, oh, he's turning everybody that loves him against him. Nah, they just love him more. And the cycle continues. Iron within, iron without. Hey, what up, psychos? This is Peter Turbo.
the lesson he was being taught.
Hi, dear mom.
However, as Honshu is given his last chance to beat Perturabo, the Lord of Iron ends up rather pleased, as seen in Warbreed. Do you know why you keep losing? Because there's no way to win, snapped Honshu. You set me impossible challenges. You claim every advantage on the board, and you are Perturabo, the Lord of Iron. You are half right, but you are losing, because you are fighting like every other warsmith I have in my armies. You are fighting in a way you think I want you to fight, but I want you to fight like you. Fight like Honshu, not like any other warsmith. Fight as though this is your only chance to humble every man who has ever doubted you. Every warrior who looked down on you. Not a singular being, but all of them. Fight like you. I thought fighting like that was my weakness. When you didn't know that, it was knowing yourself as well as you know the enemy. Turn it into a strength. Now, fight again. And this will be your last attempt.
Okay. Kind of based, I guess. Kind of good advice from Dad there, but also, I don't know, maybe work on the wording there, Perturabo. Like, what was he saying? Be yourself, be creative, think originally, don't be what other people want you to be because yourself shines. But also, he was kind of like, and then kill them all and F them. You know? So, I don't know. Kind of, Work on it.
Honshu was tested to his very limit, but finally, he destroyed the center of Perturabo's sector defenses. Perturabo smiled and toppled his commander's flag. Well done, The victory is yours. Honshu sat back, his face slick with sweat, his skull pounding from the stress of maintaining an unrelenting focus on his stratagems. Entire sectors had been set ablaze, the death toll likely in the realm of multiple billions. You see, it can be done. Honshu pointed to the linchpin world and said, "That was Cadia, wasn't it?" Perturabo nodded. "It was, an extreme version of it, but one we will soon face." Honshu looked up from the board and stared into the endless white of the sky. It remained unendingly sterile and bleached of all life, but streaks of blue-black fumes hazed the horizon in all directions. He moved to the outcropping, overlooking the desolate outlands of Madrengard, and saw a world on fire with industry. A global effort of industrial output. Vast foundries churned out legions of battle tanks, choking fumes spewed from chemical plants, producing weapons and ammunitions. His gaze traveled beyond the horizon to see every fiber of Madrengard's war machine brought to bear to produce an army of conquest. What is this? Exactly what you came here looking for. A war unlike any other. The despoiler has called, and this time I will answer him. But to win, we need to cast off the old ways of war. None of my other warsmiths can think like you. They are all too bound up in whether a fight can be won to understand that sometimes a fight needs to be fought. You have no code, no loyalty to any creed but your own. And the coming war will demand leaders who will fight even when their logical thing says they shouldn't. Warriors who confound our enemies at every turn. Honshu watched the vast army forming up beneath the black sun in the dead sky. That I can do. Honestly, and I'm just sharing my personal opinion and interpretations here, but Perturabo sounds a lot more mature than during the Horus Heresy and the Siege of Terra.
He's
Maybe
learning?
It's just because he is playing his favorite Siege game, which he has played for over 10 millennia by the way. But he sounds a lot calmer and collected here than when he trained Kruger or any of his other earlier warsmiths. But here's the plot twist. This is
right? Wouldn't old Perturabo be upset at Honsu's losses and be like, your losses are embarrassing me or whatever, and your failure is my failure? And now he's like, let me give you a help. Let me give you help, a hint on how to not fail. Right? That's good. That's growth. He's growing. It took a millennia, but he's growing. Hey, now give him a friend, maybe a puppy. Have we tried giving the Primarchs puppies? Get back to me. I think I might have fixed him.
Not normal Perturabo. No, this is Demon Ascended Perturabo.
Okay,
he is
never
a demon
mind
prince
what
in
I
this
said.
scene. He has been a demon
Never mind now, he's a demon prince. Never mind, okay.
prince for nearly 10,000 years.
Okay.
But we already established he doesn't serve chaos. How the hell did he become a demon prince? Let's take a look at Perturabo's ascension.
Perturabo is a demon prince.
First, let's take a look at why Perturabo became a demon Primarch, which is sadly an entire build-up from the novels Angel Exterminatus, Slaves to
started with
Darkness,
Ferris
Mortis,
Manus,
and The End in the Death Volume 3. So I have to combine and shorten a lot of information here.
Let's run it.
Throughout all of these novels, do we learn that Perturabo has a distaste for the demonic, even though he claims to understand the warp better than most. In Mortis, it shows his brutally honest opinion of Horus Ascended, while being relieved from commanding the Siege of Terra definitely made Perturabo upset. The ceaseless bickering and insanity of the demon Primarchs was a nice thing to be free from. Yet, with all of this said, Perturabo does not consider himself above the use of warp magic as a weapon. To draw a parallel with Lorgar for a moment, Lorgar is a man of fate, and through his belief in the Chaos Gods, does he study and understand the warp. Perturabo, on the other hand, is a man of science, and no matter how much Fabius Bile copes, the Chaos Gods are very real and very powerful.
True.
Yet Perturabo, no matter what, refuses to let himself be a slave to the whims of the Dark Gods. But there is another issue, namely that when Fulgrim ascended, he nearly killed Perturabo by opening his soul with the Maw-Eater stone, and since then, he has slowly been dying. While this here is more interpretation than anything else, Perturabo has the following reasons to become a demon Primarch. First and foremost, to actually save his life.
Yeah.
The second is to become stronger and transform into the perfect weapon.
Become
and as we saw with
powerful.
Perturabo's curse earlier in this video, he has been very successful. But Dutch, I hear you ask, how did Perturabo become a demon Primarch? Well, I am glad you asked, friend. When Perturabo fought Rogel Dorn on Sebastus IV in a battle now known as the Iron Cage, the Lord of Iron utterly broke the Praetorian of Terra. The Iron Cage resulted in the Imperial Fist no longer being able to exist as a legion. Perturabo did not create a fortress to be besieged on Sebastus IV. He created a death trap, which Rogel Dorn walked right into.
What is it, Space Marine?
Dorn endlessly cried his challenges at Perturabo,
We looking at Space Marine
which
here?
he promptly ignored.
Space Marine
Only
2?
when Robute Gilliman arrived with the Ultramarines did Perturabo fall back. And as he did so, he sacrificed an incredible amount of Imperial Fist gene seed to the Dark Gods so he could ascend. And through this sacrifice did Perturabo become a demon Primarch. Although it is not outright stated which god he sacrificed to, or if he is even a full demon Primarch at all, he could just be empowered after all, kinda like Horus but way weaker. I personally believe he probably became a Chaos Undivided Demon Prince, kind of like Be'lakor, which conceivably gives him as much freedom as the Prince of Shadows has, or as much freedom as Lorgar has, if he were not being haunted by his Raven brother. For completionist's sake, when it comes to his ascension to demonhood, I also want you guys to understand that he really, really hated Horus Ascended and his demon Primarch brothers.
Yeah,
Here is a quick cut
does.
from Perturabo's thoughts on the siege, as seen in The End in the Death Volume 3. Horus's idea of victory was not victory at all, whether Perturabo took the palace or not. It was not a victory that the Lord of Iron could afford. It was an unviable position, a victory he calculated to be impossible. He studied the data scrupulously, and it never lies to him. Having learned to hate Horus as much as he hated his father, Perturabo resolved he would not waste a single further soul on the effort. There was nothing to be gained. Perturabo double-checked the calculations and quit the field an hour later. There is no going back now, none at all. He sits in the broken chair, hunched forward, and watches the data. It talks to him in its unbiased voice. Horus is going to win. Horus's version of victory, at least, is not one supported by the data. So, the dress sword has finally drawn itself. Understand which way the wind is blowing, and bend with it before it breaks you. That's what common sense would say. Damn Horus to hell. That's what hate says. That's what the Lord of Iron screams at the walls as he dents it, and yells at the deck as he cracks it, and howls at the chair as he reduces it to debris. Don't go back. Don't ever go back. He hates you too. He will not forgive. He will
They
not
all
find
hate
mercy
us.
in his heart. His configuration of the future, now dawning, does not allow for mercy. Horus will punish you whether you go back or not. He will hunt you, and he will destroy you. The Lord of Iron sits on the deck, hunched over, and watches the data talk in calm blue twilight tones. It never lies to him. He watches it tell the story of the War Master's triumph, the victory of Horus, scrolling past one data block at a time. Damn him, hate him. He used the Lord of Iron as a weapon, but he made the Lord
Hate
of Iron
him.
his enemy. Perturabo will just have to make ready and face him when he comes. Perturabo will simply have to kill Horus and all of his sons, and every single one of the idiots who cheer the name Lupercal, because they're too afraid not to. Every single one. Hate can do that. The Lord of Iron can do that, especially if he has become something more by then, something pure and perfect, because it is absolute and unique, hyper compressed, meaning in solid form, the shadow caused by all weapons. There are ways to achieve that state. The data has shown it to him as an irrefutable outcome. He has just to decide if he can bear to. For all great accomplishments come at a great price. It will take persistence.
He's moving with
never lacked
spite.
that. The data says that the Emperor must
Spite
die
and
now.
science.
The victory is calculated and certain. It's twilight. Perturabo owes no allegiance. He has no bias. He hates equally. He leans forward to watch.
Hater boy.
Earlier, Perturabo ruminates on the purity of the Atame daggers as weapons, something he wishes to achieve for himself. Perturabo admits he has a genuine and full understanding of the warp, even the esoteric stuff of Malkador the Sigillite. Perturabo contemplates many things, and other than vengeance, he wants to become a raw weapon of such purity that it could rival the Atame blade that originally corrupted Horus. He wished he could have studied those daggers more deeply, but that was now beyond him. In the long years since, Perturabo has not been idle. The Lord of Iron and his sons have been active participants in the Long War. But more importantly, Perturabo has built his perfect world on Medrengard in the Eye of Terror. By being located in the Warp, Medrengard does not play by the rules of physical laws. Fortress spires run upwards for miles, and dungeons pierce to the very core of the world. It is a mad architect's vision of iron and stone. It is here where Perturabo has made his demonic home. Countless warbands of the Iron Warriors have used Medrengard as their base of operations for centuries, plotting as to how to crush and imprison their enemies, the Imperial Fist foremost amongst them. And now that Cadia is broken, and the Imperium is split in half by the Cicatrix Maledictum, the time has come for Perturabo and his embittered legions to wreak devastation upon the Imperium. Perturabo has forced alliances with Abaddon the Despoiler, Vashtor the Archifane, yet more importantly, Perturabo has declared a siege against the entirety of the Segmentum Obscurus. Yeah, Perturabo is going to besiege an entire fifth of the Imperium. As with everything, Perturabo prepared his grand siege to the extreme. He studied Imperial defenses within Obscurus in detail, having used remote scrying, torturing captured loyalists, and using a network of techno-cultist informants. Perturabo has learned much about the capabilities and limitations of Obscurus, and attacked with 1,000 armies. His grand strategy targeted the most heavily defended Imperial worlds, which led to a blockade of the Imperium itself. The Iron Warriors attack a dozen fortified worlds under the barrage of artillery and demon engines. The Imperium once thought these bastions untouchable, but Perturabo was determined to bring the entire Segmentum to disaster. His dealing with Vashtor, whom he still mistrusts, have led him to allowing Vashtor to be joined in his attack against the Rock by the Iron Warriors. While the Iron Warriors acted as another cog in Vashtor's plan, it was a near-complete victory against the home ship of the Dark Angels. If you would like to know more about this insane fight, go watch my Vashtor video, which also goes deeper into his association with Perturabo.
What does it mean? Wait, but also, he's kind of doing what he told Hansu to do, no? He's like, you gotta be crazier, you gotta be wild, you gotta hit them before they know what's hitting them. You gotta think outside the buns, right? And he was like, I'm just gonna lay siege to a fifth of the Imperium, to a whole sectum. I'm going to be a demon lord, but not serve any demon, because honestly, that's how they get really strong and whatever, and we can have our little utopia, which is not really a utopia, in the warp and whatnot. Okay, he's like he's playing 3D chess, and we're playing checkers, okay? Crazy. He still could use a puppy.
Although Perturabo has returned, he is still currently playing and planning things from the shadows. His ultimate goal is the destruction of the Imperium, and specifically the Imperial Fists. As long as Perturabo continues to play the puppet master and lead his legion, he will slowly destroy Segmentum Obscurus. This feat alone is something no one in the entire history of the Imperium has ever achieved. While Segmentum Pacificus is rather infamous for its non-stop rebellions, tearing apart an entire segmentum, world by world, has never really happened
and what
before.
Does he think
and
about
it makes me wonder, could the Imperium actually survive if an entire segmentum is lost? For those less familiar with the galactic map of the Imperium, Obscurus is the segmentum where the Eye of Terra is located. And although the Great Rift runs through a significant portion of Obscurus, the parts that remain in Imperium Sanctum are the very last line of defense between the Eye of Terror and Holy Terra. But if Perturabo steps from the shadows to take matters into his own hands, will he and Abaddon burn Terra together? Or will Perturabo first want to settle the score with Mortarion before moving on? In any case, Perturabo has had a way more significant impact on the galaxy than most people realize, and it seems like he's far from done with the Imperium. But what do you think of all of this? Now that you know that Perturabo is back and we have seen what he has been up to, what would you like to see next of him? I am personally hoping for an awesome new novel, or even a trilogy. Looking at you, Dark Imperium, on what the Lord of Iron has been up to exactly, and what the 4th Legion has been doing for the last 10,000 years.
I'm sorry, he has a bug son? Hello?
Are you excited for his return, or would you rather have kept him in the background until he's actually needed once again? Let me know your comments, concerns, suggestions, theories and ideas down in the comment section below.
Thank you. Thank you. What the heck? He's sleeping with bugs? That's crazy. Of course. Couldn't believe my eye. I believe you, Germa. Yeah, you are to be trusted. Yup. Okay, what the heck? So what's he doesn't want utopia? Where's his compassion? What happened? He's like touched by chaos, but not really. Hello? Perturabo. I mean, he can still be redeemed, no? We can fix him. Guys, I think we can fix him. Thoughts? Can we fix Perturabo? Let me know. We get him a puppy. Okay, listen, we get him a puppy, we give him a hug. And maybe we fix him. Thoughts? I'm a genius. Okay. That's all. I was there in person when it happened. Okay, German, get off the internet. Also, what did you say? Who said? The Grand Tourist said, when it comes to faith and divinity, Peter Turbo is a Reddit atheist, full stop. That was a crazy line. Well, let me tell you, that was a crazy line. There was a Death Guard that got redeemed. Shout out to the Death Guard. Shee. If the Imperium has a loyal Dorn and Peter Turbo, they would be unstoppable. Well, I don't think Peter likes them. I think he's busy on his hate train. He's out there being a full-time hater. And you know what? Do what you gotta do, buddy. Drink that haterade. You know what I'm saying? Drink that haterade. Well, yeah. That was Perturabo. just another guy who needed a therapist, who needed a hug, who needed a friend, who needed a buddy. And yeah, we can fix him. Of course we can fix him. We'll always fix him. Okay, you guys are done with the Primarchs, no? Or you want some... We got a lot of Conrads. We got a lot of Everyone wants Kurds. Or are we done? I don't know. We'll see about next week. We'll see what's going on. What did you think about starting at this time of day? Let me know. Should I go back? Should I go forward? You let me know. Germa, did you wake up in time? Were you sleeping in? You made it here. Yee! That was great. This is the raid message. Second raid message. Let us raid someone who is painting some minis. I will see you tomorrow bright and early if I wake up. For some Grimworld. If I wake up. Night Lord! Sheesh! Yeah. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your suggestions. Thank you for recommending and voting for Perturabo. I'll see you guys tomorrow if I wake up. If I wake up. I'm so nice and sweet, so baby girl. Okay, get off me, Get off. Bye everybody. Bye Germa. Bye Leora. Bye Beepster.